IHOP KC is a missions base based in Kansas City, Missouri. It's been here for 20 plus years. We've been doing night and day prayer coupled with music and worship for every day of the year since it opened up.
We have a web stream that we send out to equip other houses of prayer, other churches around the globe. You can always log in and connect to what's going on in the prayer room, which is part of our vision as we see in Revelation 4 and 5 of mirroring what's going on in heaven.
We like to say that we've started a prayer meeting over 20 years ago and the same one's going on today. It's been in a couple different buildings, but the same prayer meeting has continued, and it's a really fantastic place for people to be refreshed, to engage with the Lord, to get trained up, and to be sent out from.
Live production helps in achieving that mission mostly because it allows us to connect to people outside of the room. With live production, we have the ability to take however many people are in the room and, as Mike Bickle would say it, add 2 zeros to the back end of it. We're trying to create a prayer meeting that operates in conjunction with a worship service that never stops. Every 2 hours, it just keeps changing. We bring in a new worship team. We bring in a new live production crew. So at 3 a.m, you can walk into a church service where they're praying and worshiping Jesus.
The prayer room is for literally any human being and every human being. We want anyone and everyone who wants to be encouraged, who wants to seek the Lord, who is even just curious about who Jesus is, to be able to, with the click of a button, tune in and be able to experience and enjoy what's going on in the prayer room. I try to remind myself that there are people who can't go to church, people who are persecuted, and people who aren't allowed legally to worship Jesus in any context. They can still, on their phone, go to ihopkc.org, tune into the web stream, and then they will often hear us praying for them in their country, and it encourages them and blesses them and helps them feel the love of the Lord wherever they are.
So for us, the way that we have this structured is that we have people assigned to work certain prayer meetings.
We don't just show up and hope that it goes well every day. There's a very specific plan and series of steps that we take to make sure that the web stream is up for as often as we can possibly get it, and to make sure that that music and that worship and that prayer never stops in that room. So one of the things that we do for the prayer room is we make sure that we have teams set up to cycle out every 2 hours. So every 2 hours on the hour, so from noon to 2, from 2 to 4, from 4 to 6, there will be a different team performing the act of intercession and worship.
So what we do is that someone comes in, they sit down, they do cameras for a 2-hour prayer meeting, and then the next 2 hours, or the next prayer meeting, ideally, they would actually be in the room. Number one, they give their brain a break. Number two, they actually get to enjoy being a part of what's going on in the prayer room instead of just observing it. And then after that prayer meeting, you come back, you work another prayer meeting. So you're rotating with the team on stage. It's that tag team combination of you're responsible for this 2-hour block, you're responsible for this 2-hour block, I'm responsible for this 2-hour block. It's that tag teaming that makes things doable. You know, the proverb is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Our traditional positions would be camera operator, director, producer, and sound guy. The producer being responsible for the overall quality of the web stream, the director and the camera person tag teaming to produce the best looking visual element possible, and then the sound guy just making sure that not only does the mix sound good, but the dynamics stay in an acceptable range for broadcast.
Most of the people that watch the web stream, I will never meet, ever. But I know that every time I'm behind the board and I'm cultivating a mix that sounds good, I get to bless thousands and thousands of people. So I try to keep that at the forefront of my mind. On top of that, I know that the name of Jesus is being glorified in the earth 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
What makes the job worth it for me for live production, I remember there were a couple of people who were here For both courtesy and security, I won't tell their name, but they were refugees from Iran, and Iran's a closed country. Anything related to the Bible or biblical Christianity is basically forbidden in that country. And they had a story that they told us about how they escaped Iran. It was wild. It was the kind of thing that you would expect to see in a movie. I mean, literally, we're talking about midnight rides on horseback, fleeing the IRGC in the middle of the night. But they told us that the prayer room was accessible through the country's firewall. And they didn't know where they were going when they got out of Iran. They enrolled in the refugee program. They knew they were going to be resettled in the United States. And through a quirk of bureaucracy, they ended up being settled in Overland Park, right across the border from where we are in Kansas City. When I hear a story like that, it's like, okay, there is something tangible and concrete that makes it worth it to make sure that this resource is accessible.